I went from being the girl no one confessed to having a boy make 100 paper cranes just to prove his love was real. But here's what nobody tells you about saving someone's life. Sometimes they end up saving yours right back. And when I pushed him away to protect his future, I had no idea he'd spend 6 months planning the most devastating comeback I never saw coming. This is that story. Before we start, if you're here for slow burn romance that actually burns, for love that protects instead of possesses, and for the kind of chemistry that makes your chest ache, subscribe and hit that bell. Because what you're about to hear isn't your typical love story. It's the kind that changes you. Isadora Chen had one unbreakable rule: never be the first to care. It wasn't always like this. At 12, she'd been bold. The kind of girl who confessed her feelings to Daniel Park during recess. He smiled. Actually smiled, then told her he thought of her as a sister. The next week, he was dating her best friend. But wait, that wasn't even the worst rejection. At 14, she tried again. Nathan Kim, the boy next door with the crooked smile. He laughed when she confessed, assumed it was a joke, then spent the next month asking about her twin sister Elena's relationship status. That's when Isadora learned the fundamental truth. Some girls were born to be confessed to. Others, like her, were born to watch from the sidelines. Now, at 17, Isadora had perfected emotional invisibility. Wild curls, always in a ponytail. Head down, honor roll student, surviving senior year unnoticed at Westbridge Academy. That strategy worked perfectly until 2 boys walked into her life. One everyone wanted, one nobody saw coming. Dante Choi transferred to Westbridge mid-semester, and every defense Isadora had built started cracking. He wasn't just handsome, he was magnetic. Tall, graceful like a dancer, with a face that belonged in art museums. Sharp cheekbones, full lips, eyes that saw through every performance, and completely uninterested in the swarm of girls orbiting him like planets around the sun. Elena whispered during calculus, "Did you see him in the courtyard? Reading poetry? Poetry, Isa? Lots of people read poetry." He was so absorbed he didn't notice when Brittany Chen accidentally dropped her books right next to him. Elena sighed. "I think I'm in love." Here's where it gets crazy. Elena grabbed Isadora's hand. "You should talk to him. I saw him looking at you in the library yesterday." Isadora's pencil stilled. "He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the clock behind me. He was looking at you." Isadora spent that night researching Dante Choi. National swimmer, international competitor, mysterious transfer circumstances. She had no idea that in 48 hours, she'd save a completely different boy's life, and he'd become the only one who mattered. The Academy's beach day arrived. Crescent Bay. Perfect weather. Perfect timing for disaster. Isadora walked away from the volleyball games, away from watching Dante emerge from the water like some kind of deity. She walked until the noise faded, until she reached the rocky outcropping at the bay's northern edge. That's when she heard it. A shout. A figure thrashing in the water beyond the rocks, pulled by a riptide. If you've never saved someone from drowning, you're unprepared for what happens next, unless you know about the bond it creates. Isadora didn't think. She dove, the burning in her lungs, his weight as she hooked her arm across his chest, lifeguard training taking over, side-stroking towards shore. They collapsed together on the sand, both coughing seawater. "Breathe," she commanded. "Just breathe." When he finally looked at her, Isadora saw eyes the color of midnight, dark, deep, filled with something she couldn't name. "Thank you." His voice was raw. "I thought I couldn't." "You're okay now. The riptide's strong here. You can't fight it. You swim parallel to shore." He studied her face with devastating intensity. "You saved my life. Anyone would have, but you did." He sat up slowly. Older than typical students. 19, maybe 20, features that held maturity from experience, not years. I'm Kwon Tae-sung. Isadora, Isa. Isadora. He tested her name like something precious. I won't forget this. I won't forget you. Before Isadora could respond, her sister appeared with lifeguards and a crowd. In the chaos, Tae-sung vanished. She thought she'd never see him again. She was so wrong. Monday morning, homeroom chaos. Mrs. Patterson smiled. Please welcome Kwon Tae-sung to Westbridge Academy. Isadora's backpack hit the floor. Tae-sung emerged from the crowd in a Westbridge uniform, looking nothing like the drowning boy. Hair styled, expression composed and distant. Those midnight eyes surveying the classroom. When his gaze landed on Isadora, something flickered. Recognition, surprise, something softer. You can sit there, Tae-sung. Mrs. Patterson pointed to the empty desk directly in front of Isadora's. Of course. As he settled in, he turned slightly. Hello, Isadora. Every head swiveled toward her. You know each other? Elena whispered, delighted. Marcus Chen leaned forward. Dude, you're the girl who saved him. That's so romantic. It wasn't romantic, Isadora said firmly. It was basic water safety. But here's what Isadora didn't know. Tae-sung watched her constantly. Not obviously, not creepily, but she felt his attention like a physical weight, tracking her movements through hallways and classrooms. When the bell rang, he turned in his seat, giving her his full attention. I didn't know you were a student here. Senior year. You? Senior as well? Though I'm older. 19. I'm retaking my university entrance exams. No shame, just honesty. I failed them last year. Family. Complications. Family complications. That phrase would come back to haunt both of them, because Tae-sung's father wasn't just difficult, he was dangerous, and he was watching. Would you like to eat together? Tae-sung asked. I owe you a meal. Several meals, actually. You saved my life. Every cell in Isadora's body screamed yes, but then she saw Elena hovering nearby, saw other girls watching Tae-sung with barely concealed hunger, remembered her rule. Never be the first to care. That's okay, she said lightly. Like I said, anyone would have helped. Something shuddered behind Tae-sung's eyes. Of course, thank you anyway. He left with other boys, and Isadora told herself she'd made the right choice. Elena dropped into the desk beside her. Are you insane? He basically asked you on a date. It wasn't a date. It was gratitude. Isa. Elena's voice gentled. Not everyone is Nathan Kim. Not every confession ends in rejection. I wasted 3 years building walls to protect myself. Here's what actually works. Over 2 weeks, Isadora learned 3 things about Kwon Tae-sung. First, he was brilliant. Demolished every test despite being out of school for a year. Teachers praised him. Students resented him. He remained impassive. Second, he was solitary. Ate lunch alone in the library, declined party invitations, existed in a bubble of focused intensity. Third, he watched Isadora constantly. It's getting weird, Elena observed. He looks at you like you're the only person in the room. He's probably just awkward. New school, language barrier. His English is better than mine, and I was born here. Elena linked their arms. Isa, what are you afraid of? Everything. But fear wasn't going to save Isadora from what happened next, because Tae-sung kept appearing in her carefully ordered world, starting with the library. She found him after school, surrounded by test prep materials and energy drinks, looking exhausted. You should take breaks, she said before she could stop herself. He looked up, and his tired face transformed. Isadora. The way he said her name, like a prayer, like relief, made something in her chest constrict. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. You're not interrupting. He gestured to the empty chair. Please. She sat. How's the studying going? Slowly, Taesung rubbed his eyes. In Korea, the university entrance exam is everything. One test determines your entire future. I thought I was prepared last year, but... Shadows crossed his face. What happened? Silence. Then, my father happened. Pain, anger, resignation in those 2 words. Is that why you transferred? To get away from him? Partially. His fingers traced meaningless patterns on his textbook. My mother runs a hair salon in Koreatown. Small, but successful. My father works at the university hospital. Prestigious position. He believes I embarrassed him by failing. He made our home difficult. Here's what nobody tells you about toxic families. Has he hurt you? Or your mother? Not physically. He's too careful for that. But words, control, isolation, those leave different scars. He met her eyes, determination stealing her breath. I'm working to change things. Top scores mean scholarships, independence, freedom. You'll do it. I know you will. Because you believe I can? Or because you saved my life? So now you're invested? The question was gentle, almost teasing, but demanded honesty. Both, Isadora admitted. Saturday afternoon, mid-October. Isadora walked through Koreatown clutching $300, 3 months of tutoring money. She saw it. Kwan's beauty studio. Elegant lettering. And through the window, unmistakably, Taesung. He stood behind a styling chair, hands moving with surprising grace through a client's hair. His mother gave instructions in rapid Korean. He looked different here. Relaxed, almost content. Isadora pushed through the door. The bell chimed. Taesung's hands stilled. Their eyes met in the mirror. Surprise bloomed into something warmer. Isadora, what are you doing here? She held up her envelope. I wanted to get my hair straightened. I didn't know this was your family's salon. Mrs. Kwan approached. You're Isadora? Taesung talks about you constantly. She shot her son a knowing look. Mom? His ears reddened. But wait. What Mrs. Kwan said next changed everything. Your hair is beautiful. Why would you want to change it? The question, asked with genuine curiosity, made Isadora's throat tight. I want something different. Something easier. Easier for others to accept, you mean? In the mirror, Taesung watched with an expression she couldn't decipher. The treatment you want costs $800 minimum. What you have here isn't enough. Isadora's stomach dropped. However, Mrs. Kwan glanced at her son. We could use help around the salon, Saturdays and Sundays. Minimum wage plus tips. Work off the difference. Isadora accepted. She had no idea that working alongside Taesung would be both wonderful and torturous, or that proximity would breed the kind of intimacy she'd spent years avoiding. Isadora started the next weekend and discovered sides of Taesung no one at Westbridge knew existed. Patient with elderly clients who spoke no English, playful with children squirming in styling chairs, protective of his mother when difficult customers complained. You're good at this, she told him one Sunday, watching him expertly layer a client's hair. My mother taught me. She said I needed practical skills in case academia didn't work out. His smile was wry. My father hated it, called it women's work, beneath our family's status. Your father sounds like an ass. The words slipped out. Taesung's hands paused, then continued. He is. But he's also powerful. Connected. When I failed the exam, he made sure everyone in our community knew. The embarrassment nearly destroyed my mother's business. Is that why you transferred? To escape the gossip? Partially. Also because his jaw tightened. He has a temper. It's better if I'm not home. I lost 3 months building walls. Then I learned this. When I pulled you from that water, I felt connected to you. Like saving you meant something more than just rescue. Taesung turned from his client, giving Isadora his complete attention. It meant everything to me. You meant everything. The air thickened. Isadora's pulse hammered. Tae-sung ah! Mrs. Kwan called. Your next appointment is here. The moment shattered. But those 3 words, you meant everything, would echo in Isadora's chest for weeks, until the midterms arrived and changed everything. Elena sprawled across Isadora's bed Thursday night. You're falling for him. Don't even try to deny it. Isadora highlighted her biology textbook. I'm focused on exams. You're focused on a 6-foot-tall Korean boy with emotional depth and cheekbones that could cut glass. Elena sat up. What happened to Dante Choi? The truth? Isadora had barely thought about Dante in weeks. He was beautiful, but hollow, a perfect facade with nothing underneath. Tae-sung was different. Real, complicated and damaged and fighting for something that mattered. When she was with him, Isadora didn't feel invisible. She felt seen. Everyone says love at first sight is real. They're wrong. Here's why. That boy saved every penny to buy you lunch when you forgot your wallet, memorized your coffee order after you mentioned it once, rearranged his study schedule so you'd never be in the library alone. Elena squeezed her hand. If that's not devotion, I don't know what is. Isadora's eyes burned. What if I'm wrong? What if he's just being kind because I saved his life? Then you're wrong. But at least you tried. At least you felt something real. Elena's voice turned fierce. Be brave, Isa. Just this once. The next morning, midterm results posted. And what Isadora saw on that list would force her to make a choice she wasn't ready for. Friday morning. Westbridge's hallway erupted in celebration and despair. Isadora scanned the list. 8th place. Good, but not good enough for the elite study center's 10-person limit. Then she saw it. Kwon Tae-sung. 1st place. Pride and disappointment warred in her chest. She found him by his locker, surrounded by congratulatory classmates. When he saw her, he extracted himself immediately, crossing the hallway with single-minded focus. Isa. Her name was a question, a prayer. Congratulations. 1st place. That's incredible. You're not happy. His eyes searched her face. You wanted the study center. I'm happy for you. Really, this is what you needed. Means nothing if you're disappointed. He touched her elbow gently, guiding her into an empty classroom. Talk to me, please. The please undid her. I'm being selfish. I studied hard, but not hard enough. You earned this. Here's where it gets crazy. Then we'll study together anyway. The elite center isn't the only path. Tae-sung moved closer. She caught his cologne, something clean and masculine that made her dizzy. Besides, if I'm being honest, half my motivation was impressing you. What? You saved my life, Isadora. The least I could do was make that life worth saving. His voice dropped, intimate and raw. Everything I've done since that day has been for 2 purposes: proving myself to my mother and becoming someone worthy of your attention. Her breath caught. You don't need to prove anything to me. Don't I? His hand came up, hovering near her face. You've kept me at arm's length for months. Friendly, but distant. Like you're afraid. I am afraid. I've been rejected before. Humiliated. I would never. The words were fierce. Absolute. What happened next would be seared into Isadora's memory forever, because for the first time in 5 years she stopped being afraid. Isadora, I don't know how to make you believe this, but you are the most extraordinary person I've ever met. Bold enough to dive into dangerous waters to save a stranger. Kind enough to help that same stranger navigate a new school, a new life. His hand finally made contact, fingers gentle against her cheek. You are not invisible. You are not forgettable. You are the reason I wake up wanting to be better. Isadora's vision blurred. Tae-sung, I'm not asking for anything. You can't give, but I need you to know. When I look at you, I don't see someone who needs to change. I see someone who's already perfect exactly as she is. Wild curls and all. The words broke something open inside her. Before she could think, before fear could stop her, Isadora closed the distance between them. Their first kiss was soft, tentative, a question rather than a demand. Then Taesung's arms came around her, pulling her close, and the kiss deepened into something that felt like coming home. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Taesung rested his forehead against hers. I've wanted to do that since the beach, since you pulled me from the water and looked at me like I was worth saving. You are worth saving. Isadora's hands fisted in his shirt. You're worth everything. For 2 perfect weeks, Isadora existed in a bubble of happiness. She had no idea that happiness was about to shatter in the worst possible way. They were careful at school. No public displays, no obvious attachment. But in the salon, in the library, in stolen moments between classes, they built something real. He brought her coffee before first period. She quizzed him on vocabulary during lunch. He walked her home. Their hands linked, sharing dreams and fears in the growing darkness. Elena approved enthusiastically. Mrs. Kwan watched them with knowing smiles. Even Isadora's parents, meeting Taesung at family dinner, were charmed. It was perfect. I wasted years thinking perfect meant safe. Here's what actually happens. Until the Monday before the school's autumn festival, Taesung didn't show up for homeroom, or second period, or lunch. Texts went unanswered. Calls went straight to voicemail. By dismissal, panic had replaced confusion. She went straight to the salon. The closed sign was up. Lights off. No movement, no life. She was dialing Mrs. Kwan's number when her phone rang with an unknown number. Hello? Isadora, it's Mrs. Kwan. Her voice was thick, pained. I'm at County Hospital. There was an incident. What Mrs. Kwan said next would force Isadora to make the most heartbreaking decision of her life. Isadora's world tilted. What happened? Is Taesung... Taesung is fine. It's me. My husband. Her voice broke. He came to the salon yesterday. We argued about Taesung's study schedule, the business, everything. Things escalated. I'm okay, but the doctors want to keep me overnight. Oh my God. Where's Taesung? Here. But Isadora, listen carefully. Mrs. Kwan's voice hardened. My husband filed a restraining order against me, against us. He's claiming I'm mentally unstable, an unfit mother. He's using his connections at the hospital to build a case. No. We're leaving Los Angeles. Tonight. Once I'm discharged. My sister lives in San Francisco. We'll stay there until the legal situation resolves. You can't just leave. Taesung's exams. His future. His future is staying out of his father's reach. Dr. Kwan is respected. Powerful. He could destroy Taesung's chances at any university in California. Here's what nobody tells you about leaving someone you love. I need you to do something for me. Anything. Tell Taesung to stop fighting this. He wants to stay, to finish the semester with you, but it's not safe. His father is watching, waiting for an excuse to prove I'm corrupting our son. She paused. Help him let go, please. The line went dead. Isadora stood on the empty street, tears streaming down her face, understanding what was being asked. She had to break both their hearts to protect his future. What Isadora said in that hospital parking garage would haunt her for 6 months, and the lie she told would be the cruelest kindness she'd ever given. She found Taesung in the hospital parking garage, face buried in his hands. Isa. He stood immediately, reaching for her. My mom told you? Everything. You're leaving. No, I'm staying. I'll finish the semester, take the exams here. Your mom said it's not safe. She's wrong. His voice rose. I'm not letting my father win. I'm not abandoning you, my life, everything I've built. You're not abandoning anything. You're being smart. Isadora forced steel into her voice. Your future matters more than some high school romance. Taesung flinched as if she'd struck him. Some high school romance? Is that what this is to you? I went from loving him desperately to destroying us completely. Here's how. What else could it be? We've known each other for 3 months, Taesung. You're grateful because I saved your life. I'm flattered because you paid attention to me. But that's not love. That's not worth risking your relationship with your mother or your university prospects. You're lying. He closed the distance, gripping her shoulders. Look at me and say you don't feel this. Say you don't care. Isadora met his eyes, her heart shattering with every word. I don't feel anything. You are a distraction, Taesung. A nice distraction, but still just a distraction. I'm sorry if you thought it was more. His hands dropped. The devastation on his face nearly broke her resolve. I don't believe you. Then don't. But I'm not going to wait around for you. I have my own future to think about. She stepped back. Go to San Francisco. Protect your mom. Ace your exams. Forget about me. Issa. Goodbye, Taesung. She walked away before he could see her crumble, and for 6 months, Isadora would believe she'd made the right choice. She had no idea Taesung spent every single one of those days planning his return. Taesung left that night. Isadora knew because the least available sign appeared. She threw herself into academics, AP classes, college applications, volunteer work, anything to fill the void. Dante Choi asked her to winter formal. She declined. She worked at the salon's replacement, fluorescent lights and zero soul, until she'd saved enough for hair straightening. But when she sat in the stylist's chair, ready to finally transform, she couldn't do it. My hair is fine the way it is, she'd told the confused stylist. Mrs. Kwan would have been proud. Changing yourself versus accepting yourself. Everyone picks changing. That's a mistake. Senior year crawled toward graduation. Honor roll status maintained. Berkeley pre-med acceptance. Salutatorian speech delivered with perfect composure. She did not cry when she saw the empty seat where Taesung should have been. After the ceremony, Elena found her by their lockers. He left you something. Elena handed her a notebook, the kind Taesung had always carried. I found it in the library study carrel he always used. It's been there for months, Issa. I think he meant for you to find it. What Isadora found inside that notebook would change everything she thought she knew about that parking garage conversation. With shaking hands, Isadora opened the cover. The first page held a photograph, the two of them at the salon, her head thrown back in laughter, his eyes on her with undisguised adoration. The second page, for Isadora, who saved my life in more ways than one. The rest was filled with notes, not academic ones, observations, memories, feelings in both Korean and English. Today, she helped Mrs. Park choose a new style. She has such patience, such kindness. I wanted to kiss her in the middle of the salon. She doesn't see her own beauty, the way her curls catch sunlight, the way her eyes light up when she understands a difficult concept. She's extraordinary. I told her I'm working to become worthy of her. The truth is, I'll never be worthy. But I'll spend my life trying. Page after page of devotion. Love so pure it hurt to read. And on the final page, I know why you pushed me away. I know you thought you were protecting me. Maybe you were, right. But Isadora, hear this. You are not a distraction. You are not forgettable. You are the reason I survived my father's cruelty, my failures, my deepest fears. But wait, there's more. Wherever I am, whatever I become, I will carry you with me. Thank you for saving my life. Thank you for showing me what love should feel like. I hope someday you'll forgive me for not fighting harder to stay. Taesung. Isadora clutched the notebook to her chest and finally let herself break. 3 weeks later, Isadora would return to the beach where everything began. She had no idea Taesung had been waiting for that exact moment for 6 months. 3 weeks later, Crescent Bay, sunset painting the water gold and crimson. Isadora came here often now, to the spot where everything began. Tied out. Beach empty, except for gulls and memories. I wondered if I'd find you here. Isadora spun around. Tae-sung stood 20 feet away, jeans and a simple button-down, hair longer. Then she remembered. He looked older, more grounded, but his eyes held the same intensity. How? Her voice failed. You're supposed to be in San Francisco. I was. I took the exams there, applied to Berkeley and Stanford, got into both. He moved closer, slowly, as if approaching something precious and fragile. I'm enrolled at Berkeley for fall, pre-law, with a focus on family advocacy. Turns out nearly losing my mother to an abuser's legal manipulations gave me purpose. Tae-sung. Tears spilled down Isadora's cheeks. I'm so sorry. What I said that day was necessary. I understand that now. He stopped just beyond touching distance. My mom needed me focused, not heartbroken and distracted. We built our case, got the restraining order reversed, established legal independence from my father. It took months, but we won. His voice softened. She asks about you constantly. She wants you to know the salon's reopening next month, and that your job is waiting. I want it. I want... Her voice broke. I read your notebook. Every word. Tae-sung, I didn't push you away because I didn't care. I pushed you away because I cared too much. I know. He finally closed the distance, hands cupping her face with devastating gentleness. I know, Issa, and I forgive you. I forgave you the moment I left because I understood what you were sacrificing. I love you. The words tumbled out desperately. I loved you then. I love you now. I never stopped. He kissed her before she could finish. And what he pulled from his pocket next would prove exactly how much those 6 months apart had meant to him. The kiss felt like resurrection, like every broken piece of her heart realigning. His arms wrapped around her waist, lifting her slightly, and Isadora clung to him like he might disappear if she loosened her grip. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Tae-sung pressed his forehead to hers. I have something for you. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small glass jar filled with tiny paper cranes, hundreds of them, folded from magazine pages and notebook paper. I made one every day we were apart, he explained. Each one represents a memory, a moment I wanted to share with you. My mom's recovery, my exam scores, the day I got my acceptance letter, the first time I laughed after leaving you. His thumb brushed away her tears. I was going to mail them, but I decided to wait, to bring them to you myself when I could finally do this right. Do what right? Here's what nobody tells you about real love. This. Tae-sung took her hand, expression serious and tender. Isadora Chen, you saved my life on this beach last spring, but you've been saving me every day since. With your kindness, your strength, your unwavering belief that I could be more than my failures. I don't have poetry or grand gestures. I just have this. I love you, completely, irrevocably. And if you'll have me, I want to spend every day proving I'm worthy of that gift you gave me, your heart. Isadora laughed through her tears, pulling him into another kiss. You don't have to prove anything. You already are worthy. You've always been worthy. So that's a yes? That's a yes. To everything. To us. To the future. To all of it. Around them, the sun dipped below the horizon, and there, on the sand where they'd first met, they held each other and planned their shared tomorrow. Senior year graduation photos would later show Isadora Chen and Kwon Tae-sung standing together at Berkeley's orientation, her wild curls free and glorious, his arm around her waist, both grinning like they'd won the lottery. Elena would frame that photo with the caption, "The girl who stopped confessing, and the boy who never stopped loving her." Mrs. Kwon would keep it on the salon's reception desk, next to her business license and the restraining order dismissal papers, twin symbols of freedom earned through courage and love. And Isadora? She would keep Taesung's jar of paper cranes on her dorm room desk, adding to it whenever they spent time apart. Years later, when Taesung proposed on the same beach where she'd saved his life, she'd unfold one of those cranes and find his law school acceptance letter, creased and cherished. But that's a story for another time. For now, standing on the precipice of forever, Isadora Chen kissed the boy she'd rescued and let herself be rescued in return. Not from drowning waters, but from the loneliness she'd worn like armor. Sometimes the best love stories aren't about grand gestures or perfect people. Sometimes they're about two broken souls finding safety in each other's arms, about protection that comes from devotion rather than domination, about becoming your truest self because someone finally sees you clearly. This was that kind of love, and it was only just beginning. If this story resonated with you, if you believe in love that protects without possessing, in partners who champion each other's growth, in chemistry that transcends circumstance, then subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell because we're bringing you more deep romance, more cultural fusion, more stories about finding your person in the most unexpected places. Drop a comment below. Have you ever pushed someone away to protect them, or been that person who waited despite the distance? Your story matters, and remember, you don't need to change yourself to be loved. The right person will see your wild curls, literal or metaphorical, and call them beautiful. Until next time, this is where healing meets passion, where culture meets connection, and where true love always, always finds its way home.